Hello to everybody and welcome to our COSC010 lecture for week 2. As you guys probably have noted, Georgetown is closed and classes are canceled for Tuesday, which is 1/26. And so instead of having class, I'm going to create 3 YouTube videos. Each one's going to be about 25 minutes long, and they will constitute our week 2 course. So we're going to get started just having some reminders about what we've talked about so far and what is due, what is coming up, and also how to do some of those tasks and where to find the resources that you need to get through those tasks. So let's get started by remembering that this class has a website. This is it right here. The URL for the website is available on Blackboard. So if you log into your Blackboard at any time, and you look at the announcements on Blackboard, you can always get the link to the website. So if you ever lose it for some reason or you don't bookmark it, it's always there in Georgetown's Blackboard. The next thing is when you enter class, it's always a good idea to choose the announcements, because I post announcements often. Like if something changes or something's coming up, I'm going to make an announcement. For example, I recently posted an announcement that classes are canceled tomorrow and that I'm going to post YouTube videos that I will then update this announcement and tell you where I've placed those videos. So the announcements always kind of keep up with what's going on in the classroom so that you can keep up with what's going on in the classroom. I also posted an announcement earlier today just letting everyone know that I have officially removed all of the groups. And the reason that I did that was there are so many changes during the drop add period that some of the groups are way too small now, and etc. So it is not relevant to concern yourself with the groups for now, because we're not going to be doing group work yet. We'll get to that later. So don't worry if you're not in a group. No one now is officially in a group. I will create groups after the extended drop add ends, because from what I understand, a number of departments are extending the drop add period because of the snow and the closures for the campus. So once that's completely done, then we'll make our groups and then we'll talk more about that. So please don't worry about that for now. This is again a reminder of where our class website is. That's where we are right now. And finally, the announcement here reminds everybody to, under the announcements, always view the documents. And it also notes when the next assignment is due, which is February 1st. So let's scroll back up and see what we're looking at here. When you first log into the class website, if you look under announcements, or if you click on announcements, this is what you'll see. If you look under announcements and click on documents, it'll actually show you and allow you to download all of the tutorials that I've made so far and all of the PowerPoint guides that are for our class notes. So the very first folder here inside the documents area is a folder that deals with building Google Sites and apps. So this document is part 1, getting started and getting a Gmail account. This document is how to edit Google Sites. This is another how to edit Google Sites because there's a lot of detail to that. This one shows you how to add Trinket so that we can work with Python. This one shows you how to add an HTML box and some JavaScript. This one talks a little bit about the Google Drive, which is a type of cloud storage area. This is more about the Google Drive and sharing. Down here, this one talks about how to create a Google form and put that into your site. And this one talks about analytics. So you can see that already you have more than you need to get through the assignment that is due on February 1st. And we're going to do some examples of that in our videos here today as well. The next group of tutorials is called the class PowerPoints. So each time I create a PowerPoint, I upload it to this area. Now, because our class kind of just ranges in time, like we're going to get through whatever we get through each time we meet, I like to do everything in more than 1 week. So during weeks 1 and 2, we're going to get through at least these slides. And then during weeks 2 and possibly into week 3, we're going to get through these slides and so on. So that's the naming convention. It just gives you an idea of what information we're going to be trying to cover during those weeks. And since this week class was canceled and we're doing it video style like this can get changed up a little bit. So these are the two PowerPoint guides you need to concern yourself with now. And every time I create a new PowerPoint guide, I'm going to upload it to this area. Finally, underneath of this is everything you need to know about screencasting, which is literally what I'm doing right now. So I'm using Debut, which is what this second PowerPoint is all about. I'm actually using Debut and I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and right now I am officially creating a screencast. I'm going to save this as an AVI video. I'm going to upload it to YouTube. I'm going to get the link from YouTube and I'm going to save it right here on our Google site. And so what I'm doing now is quite literally what you're going to do when we get to screencasting as well. So one of the things I wanted to remind you of is the sheer number of tutorial documents that are here to support our class. And this area is going to continue to grow because we're only in the second week and we already have this number. So you always want to check back to this area and see what's new, what's been posted, and so on. So always check the announcements, always check the documents, and then keep track of what's going on in the current week. So right now we are in week 2. We finished week 1 last week. We were able to meet live. Now we're getting started with week 2. Week 2 technically for us starts tomorrow, but as we noted, class is canceled for tomorrow. However, you are going to have an assignment which is listed right on the site, and that assignment is due February 1st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. If you remember in our class last week, we all negotiated that everybody gets a 12-hour grace period, which means as long as you submit your assignment within 12 hours after this official deadline, no deduction or no penalty will occur. If you submit it after the grace period, it's minus 20%, and nothing can be later than 1 week. And of course, if you have questions, please ask, but that's pretty straightforward. Now let's take a look at what the assignment is. Hopefully most of you have been working on your Google Sites already, and some of you have been able to attend a lab section, but again, because of the snowstorm, some people have not been able to attend a lab. We also have some students who are late to register and so on and so forth. If you had to miss a lab, please don't worry. We're all aware of when the closures are for the campus and so on. There's nothing special that you need to do if you did have to miss a lab. And as we move forward, once we get back into the swing of things, everyone will be able to attend class and attend the labs live. So that is not a problem. Please don't concern yourself with that. But what I do want you to do is to continue to work on this assignment and to plan to have this submitted by February 1st so that we can continue to move forward. There's no reason to get behind because of the snowstorm. So what are some of the criteria of this assignment and how does it work? And what I want to do is walk through some of this as well so you can see it. So I'm going to read it first and then we're going to go through some examples. So number 1 tells you to create a new Gmail email account. And there's a tutorial for doing that, but it's also really straightforward. If you type in gmail.com, Gmail itself will actually walk you through the steps of creating a new email account. Now, some of you have emailed to ask me if you can use an existing Gmail account. You certainly can, but I recommend creating a new one because it gives you a level of privacy and it allows you to do the requirements of our class without having to worry that you're using a personal or already existing Gmail account. So I do recommend overall that it's a good idea to get a new Gmail account. You can start from scratch, and that new Gmail account you'll be able to go in there and create a new calendar, and you'll have a new Google Drive and so on and so forth. So there's a lot you can do with that new account. Now obviously you can do these same things with any Gmail account, but what's nice about it being new is that you can decide what is visible and what is not, and so on and so forth for our class. Number 2 tells you to create a new Google site and be sure that you have the correct and complete URL or Universal Resource Locator for this site. Now that's really important, and it's very similar to what you're looking at here. When I first created this particular site, I purposefully did this in Google using a Google site. And so when you use the URL to get to this classroom site, that's the same idea as we are going to use, and by we I mean the TAs and I, and possibly your other classmates, to have a look at your Google site. So your very first step is to just create and name a Google site. Make sure that you can get there. Test it on a few browsers. So when I created my site, I tested it on Chrome, on Firefox, and on Internet Explorer to make sure that I could get there and see the site and see what it looks like from the different perspectives. Not all the browsers are exactly the same, so keep that in mind and don't get too frustrated about that. If your site looks good on at least one of the browsers, you're doing well. Mine looks pretty good on Chrome, but it also looks okay on the other two, so that's just lucky. And we'll look at some examples of this as well. Number 3 says make sure that you can access your Google site and test it on the different browsers. So we just said that, so that's good. Number 4 says for full credit, your site must contain at least the following elements. So before I go on to read these elements, I've had some questions such as, what if I want to put more on my site? That is not a problem. You're welcome to be as creative as you want. In fact, you're encouraged to be creative. Some students asked if they could choose a special theme, like there was something that they had in mind that they wanted to do for their site. I have one student who's really interested in sports, and so they wanted to make their site very sports related and create a theme. That's fine too. So it's your site. You can do essentially what you want with it as long as you adhere to the following elements. So the first element that you must have is you're going to have at least one navigation link. What do I mean by navigation link? Well, if I go here to this Google site that we're on, everything you see here on the left, these are navigation links. If I click any one of these links, I can literally navigate around this website. So your site, just like this site, is going to have navigation links. Links that you're going to name, links that you're going to be able to edit and alter over time, etc. So to get this started, you want to make sure that you have at least one navigation link. And right now we're going to call it your name, not the words your name. Please use your actual name. So if your name was like Billy Bob Collins, your link would be Billy Bob Collins and then the word about. And this is kind of an about you link. Once you create this link and put it over here on the left, you're then going to edit this new page. And what I was suggesting was that you edit it with your CV. You can attach your CV and you could also create text that is included in your CV. So it's really an about you part of your site. Now I got an email question about this today, and the question was, do we have to put personal information on this link? Because it is called about you. It does ask for a CV. So does it have to be personal? The answer is no, it does not have to be personal. You want to keep in mind that your website is going to be public. Everyone in the universe, technically, though it's unlikely, can view your site. Your site will be public. Therefore, don't put anything on your site that you don't want other people to see. Now, a CV, which is the same thing as a resume, essentially, there are differences, but we're not going to get into that now. A CV or a resume is something that you do want to have and that you do want to be public. So if you feel that there's content on your CV or resume that's too personal, the truth is it should not be there. It should not be on your CV or resume. So when you create the About You part of your web page, this is public information. This can be charity work that you've done, your education so far, where you were educated, which is not a secret, by the way, that is public information. Any hobbies that you want to share, because again, I don't know that this is super private. If you have a hobby that is private, by all means, don't share it. So again, use your better judgment. I'm not going to be grading you on the quality of your CV, because that's not our assignment. The assignment is to create a Google site and create links and navigation and information and content. So that's really the goal. So don't get overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, what does my CV look like? Because that's really not not what we're at here. We can come back to that later because it's important, but for now the idea is to create this link and to put content in that link. That's the key to part A. For part B, you're creating another navigation link called My HTML and JavaScript, and you're going to edit this page to include an HTML box, and that box is going to have some really super minor HTML code that just prints your name and your major. We're going to get to programming soon, maybe in the next week or two, but for now I just want to make sure that you've set up your site so that you can code in HTML and JavaScript when we get there. And so you're going to test it just by creating a little tiny piece of HTML code, which I'll show you how to do on this video. And it's just going to print your name and your major. So far on your website, when you go to the left navigation, you're going to have something that says your name and about, and something that says My HTML and JavaScript. You're going to have at least those two links. Now, if you want to have a lot more links, that's fine. But this is the minimum requirement for your site. Later on, as we get to building more and more of the site, if you want to change the names of these, we'll talk about that. The reason why the names of these particular navigation links are set is so that when the TAs go into your site to grade your project, they don't have to figure out, wait a minute, where's their HTML and JavaScript link? Where's their your name about link? Because the names are going to be identical. And this makes it easier for the TAs to go in and make sure that you've created the content, you've followed the instructions, and that you have all the minimum requirements of this assignment. So kind of stick with what you see here for now, and then as we move forward, as this is graded, we can update the sites as we go. For now, we want to stick with exactly what this says. Again, you can add more, but you have to have these minimum requirements. Part C says that you also need to have a navigation link called My Python area. And you're going to edit that particular page to include the application called Trinket. Now there is a PowerPoint guide. No, it's not PowerPoint. I think it's PDF. There is a guide in the documents file that shows you how to do this, and I'm also going to show you how to do this on the video as well. But what you're going to do is you're going to embed Trinket into your Google site so that you can, when we get to it, type in Python code and run that code right from your site. So again, as we mentioned in class last Tuesday, this Google site is going to be the place where you get to practice and learn about everything from coding to tagging to videos and screencasting to image manipulation to sharing on the cloud and so on and so forth. And what you're doing now for this assignment is you're getting the initial skeleton of that Google site set up so that we can then do further projects using your Google site. As a side note, you will all eventually have access to each other's sites. And that's just fun to see what other people did and whatnot. If and when you do have access to someone else's site, please do not alter their Trinket Python code. You can click Run if you want to see what it does, but don't alter their code because that will change their site and that's not permitted. So just be sure that when you go and look at someone else's site that you're respectful and you don't make any alterations if the site allows you. For the most part, you won't have permission to make any alterations to anyone else's site even though it is public. But the Trinket application is unique in that it allows people to practice Python. So technically someone can come to someone else's site and update their Trinket code. And so please do not do that. You can update your own Trinket code, but nobody else's. Okay, part D. You're going to have another navigation. This is now the fourth link on your page. Excuse me, I still have a cough. This one will be named My Excel area, and you're going to edit this page to include an Excel document that is from your Google Drive. So in order to do part D, you have to make sure that you've created or started up your Google Drive. We'll talk about that. And that you've gone in the drive and you've created an Excel type document. Maybe put a little bit of data in there and made it visible or embedded it into your site. And there are examples for how to do this as well. The fifth navigation link is going to be called My Images. And you're going to edit this page just to include at least one image. As it turns out, on Google Sites, there are a lot of ways to put images on the page. You can use whichever way works best for you for now. When we talk more about images, we'll get to some of the differences and how they affect, the location and storage and memory and all that kind of good stuff when we talk about that. So one of the other benefits of using Google Site as an application for everything we do is that everything we learn in here, in one way or another, will connect to what you're creating in your Google Site. And so it's fun to actually see it in action rather than just read about it or hear about it. The last link, or part F, is going to be called My Videos. And you're going to edit this page for now to include at least one YouTube or other video link. You do not have to create a screencasting video yet. You will, and you will put that video in your site. But that's not what the requirement states. The requirement just says that you need to have any appropriate, meaning please, nothing creepy or weird, just an appropriate YouTube video or other video that is embedded into your site that a person could view. So a video on math, or a video on statistics, or a video on something pleasant and not inappropriate is fine. Now, if you want to jump ahead and you want to learn about the screencasting, because those tutorials have been posted, and you want to create your own video and place it on your site, because we will eventually do that anyway, by all means, please feel free to do that. But that's not required for this particular assignment. Now let's talk a little bit about the submission. To submit this assignment, you're going to go into Blackboard. So we don't submit anything through this Google site. This Google site is just for the class information, assignments, and so on. So to submit the assignment, you're going to go into Blackboard for your section of the class. You're going to locate the Dropbox for the Week 2 assignment. And we talked about that in class last week, but if you enter Blackboard, you should be able to see that right away. If you don't, you can click on Assignment, and you should be able to see it then. I can also try to open it in one of the next videos, because I'm going to do these videos in 3 parts or portions. So I'll try to add that in one of the latter videos so you can see what it looks like and where it's located again. What are you going to submit? Well, you're literally going to do the following. You're going to create a Word document. You're going to put your full name and your Georgetown username into that document. Underneath of that, you're going to place the URL, or the link, to your Google site. You're going to copy all of the above criteria and write 3 to 5 sentences that describe what you did for each one of the criteria. Feel free to include any issues that you might have had as you did this assignment and how you resolve them. So this is the part that's maybe easy to miss if you don't read this carefully. Create 3 to 5 sentences that describe how you completed or did each of the criteria. Now, in some of the smaller cases, it might only take 1 or 2 sentences. The reason I'm asking you to do this is I want to make sure you're going through and explaining each thing that you have done. One of the great things about having knowledge is being able to share it. If you have lots of knowledge and ability, but you cannot share or explain it at all, in many ways it's lost. And so it's very valuable to not only be able to take these steps, but also to be able to explain, at least briefly, what you did to take each step. So the way you want to complete that portion is just create 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then letters A, B through F, and just write a sentence or 2, up to 5 sentences, of how you completed each one, and any issues you may have had, and how you resolved those issues. Again, the due date is February 1st by 11:59 p.m. Now, normally it was going to be 10% per day, but we've decided to negotiate this, so I'm going to update this. This looks like a typo to me. We negotiated a 12-hour grace period, so you can actually submit it on February 2nd by 12 noon Eastern Time. But any time after that is just minus 20%. So it's not minus 10% per day. It's just minus 20% after the 12-hour grace period has passed. So you can ignore this, and I will remove it from the site and update it, because we negotiated that in our last class. All right, so basically what have we looked at so far? We've reminded ourselves that these are the class announcements and you should check them often. These are the documents or tutorials for the class, and you should definitely look in here every time you start doing your work. And here are the assignments and things that we're covering for weeks 1 and 2. And as we move forward, I will update each one of these links so that you always know what is due and so on and so forth. As another side note, if you click all of the weeks, you will get some information. I've already created dates for the exams, for example. So you know when exam 1 is, you know when exam 2 is. And this way, if you have any issues with these dates, you can tell me ASAP so that we can discuss how we might want to deal with those. On this site, I've also created a discussion link. This is for you guys. I'm not going to be checking this area except to monitor and make sure that no one's done anything inappropriate. But everyone should have access to this area, and if you want to discuss things with each other, you're free to do so. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, so those are the basic requirements, and what I want to do now is step through an entire process of creating a brand new page. So I'm assuming that everyone has created a Google site. I hope that that is true. There are tutorials on how to do that. And in fact, let me jump into, let me see which one of these I want to jump into real quick. This one. So this is my Gmail area that is connected to the Google site that we use for the classroom. I purposefully created a brand new Gmail area so that I could do videos just like this one without exposing private information or private email information and so on. So this is literally a Gmail account that's connected to my Google site. And so when you guys do this, what you're going to see at the very top here is a grid. If you click on this grid, it starts opening up all the different options that you have that are connected to Google, essentially. One of them is your drive. This is Google's version of the cloud. And so this is a place where you can put all kinds of documents, where you can share those documents, and where you can embed those documents into your Google site. While we're here, let's go ahead and click on the drive. So the first time you click on the drive, Google's actually going to walk you through some steps. It's going to ask you some questions. It's going to tell you stuff that it wants you to know, and so on and so forth. Once you walk through that, the next time you log in, you're just going to be in your drive. And your drive is going to be empty. So my drive has some goodies in it because I've started loading stuff in. But when you first create your drive, it's going to be empty. All of the documents that you either upload to your drive or create in your drive are accessible from anywhere in the world, essentially, except places that have restrictions, and that's a whole nother story, as long as you have internet access. And that's actually one of the many benefits of the cloud. And we'll talk about the cloud at a later time. But the whole idea of the cloud is that you're storing your things, your documents, your whatever it is you want to store, images, videos, whatnot, on a server that's managed by the Google team, as it turns out, in a completely different location, that's always accessible as long as you have internet access. So that's a nice thing, because if you have things on the cloud and your computer crashes and dies, you still have access to every single one of your documents as long as you can get on the internet. And so, we'll talk about this later, but it's one of the many benefits of having documents on the cloud. Now, once you're inside of your drive, there's lots of different things that you can click. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller here so you can see more stuff. One is you can just click My Drive. When you click My Drive, you have options. You can create a new folder, which allows you to manage the documents in your drive in a much more organized fashion. You can upload a file if you want. You can upload an entire folder if you want. So I've uploaded many files. I've uploaded images, and I've uploaded documents, and so on. You can also create documents inside of the drive. So if I were to click on Google Docs, and make sure I can see where everything is, it just creates a brand new document. So this is a new doc. And if I want, I can give this a title. It'll automatically title it with whatever you put on the first line. But you can change the title if you want. So I can change this to Amy's Doc, right? That's fine. And I can do all kinds of things just like I would largely in Microsoft Word. I can edit, I can insert things, I can change the color of text. And most importantly, I can share this. So if I click share, I can actually get a shareable link to that document, and or I can share it specifically with people. So I can share this with myself, AMG 309 at Georgetown, etc. And I can allow myself to either edit it or just comment or just view it, and so on and so forth. So all of these things are feasible inside of the drive when you create a new document. This is also true to some extent when you upload documents. So this sharing option is one of the many benefits of having information in the drive. Once you start your groups, if you create documents, whether they're Excel documents or Word documents or whatnot, and you allow your team members to share and edit those documents, those edits are automatic. So if one of your team members goes into the document that they have edit rights to and they just add something to it, every single person who has access to that document sees the new edit right away. So it's a fully shared dynamic document. It changes as you change it for everybody. You don't have to email it around and all of that. And we'll talk more about that as well when we finally meet live in person again. But for now, this is just a new document that I've created. Now let's go back to the drive. Here's that new document that I just created. And this little people thing shows that I've actually made this viewable. I've shared it. And I have a link, technically, where I can share this document so that anybody can see it. I can use that link, by the way, to embed this document into my Google site. And that's true for all kinds of links. You don't only have to create Word docs. Inside of the drive, you can create something that looks very much like Excel. So if I were to click on this type of document, I can again give it a title. So let's click on there. So Amy's Excel. Let's try that again. Amy Excel example. There we go. And then just like anything else with Excel, I can add in some numbers. So I can do just some basic statistics if I want to. I can look at the data, I can format things, I can view, and so on and so forth. I can insert a function. So if I want to find the average, or the max, or the min, or even other functions, which I can get a whole list of just by clicking on that help thing. Let's go back to insert and function. Let's just do average. And then I can use my mouse to highlight the numbers I want to take the average of, and if I press enter, I now have the average of these values. Again, this can be shared, and when you get a link to this, you can embed it into your Google site. So in other words, anything that's in your drive can be shared, can be dynamic, and can be embedded into your Google site, and that's very powerful. Finally, if you don't want to create a document, and again, you can create PowerPoints, and you can create forms, which we'll get to, drawings, maps, and so on. You can upload a file that maybe you already have. So this is what the Google Drive looks like, and we're going to be using this throughout the entire class, especially when you get involved with your groups. Okay, so I think at some point I was back in my email. Let's make sure I'm in the right place again. And let's go ahead and click on this grid again. Now, the next thing that I want to draw your attention to from here is that if you click on More, my mouse is being annoying. If you click on More, and then you click on Even More, it'll take you to an area where you can create your Google site. So if you have not done this yet, that's exactly how you find the spot where you can create websites. Let's do that again. Let's click this off here, go back here. You click on the grid, you click more, sorry my mouse is weird today. You click more, even more. It brings up this page that's filled with fun apps and such for those of you who just want to get really involved in this. You scroll down until you find the word sites. If you click sites, what it'll do is it'll take you to an area. This is our class website that I've created. It'll take you to an area that allows you to view the sites you've already created and also create a new site if you want to. So if I click create, which I'm not going to do right now for this video, but if I click this, what it'll do is it'll pop up a box and ask me, what do you want to name your site and what kind of template or theme do you want your site to have? It's very user-friendly and straightforward. Once you choose those two things, the name and the theme, it'll work for a minute or two. Sometimes it'll take a little bit. And then when you come back here, you'll see your site. Excuse me. So that's how I created our class website, which is here. Okay, once you've created your site, you have to alter and edit everything, because once you have a theme, it places all kinds of links and navigation stuff and images all over the site to help you along. But most of these you don't want at all. So you're going to end up deleting or changing or editing much of what comes out when you first create your site. And so I went through a very lengthy process when I created this site, because when I first created the site, Google just automatically built a whole bunch of links here that I didn't need and put a whole bunch of garbage inside of those links that I also didn't need. And so I either deleted them or renamed them as I went along, etc. So let's go through an example now where we just create a brand new page, where we link that page to the left navigation, and then where we edit that page. We're going to go through that entire process. Okay, so step one. When we come up here, and these are some of the hints, edit page, create page. If you kind of forget what it does, all you have to do is hover over some of these up at the upper right, and they will show you what to do. We want to create a page. And so we're going to do that first. You can't edit a page until you've created it, and you can't add a page to your left navigation until you've created it. So that is your very first step. So I'm going to click Create Page here, right on my website. It doesn't matter because I can delete it just as easily as I can create it. So I'm going to name this page New Example Page, and this way it'll be easy for us to find. It immediately builds the URL for that specific page, which is useful if I need that. And I'm going to put this page at the very top level, and you'll see where that is. And then I'm going to click Create. And when I do that, it brings me to that new example page, and it allows me to edit the page. So I can now edit this page. And I'm going to do that in a minute, but not just yet. Because the first thing that you notice here is this new page is not automatically placed in the left navigation. You actually have to go through and take that step. So let's do that. Let's first save, and that saves our new example page. So we can see it here. But if I were to click back on, say, weeks 1 and 2 or some other left navigation, how do I get back to that page? Where did that page go off to? It's not here, but I want it to be. So the method for putting your page on your left navigation link is the following. You go to this little symbol, More Actions, and what I want to do is I want to edit the layout of this particular site. And by layout, I mean what is visible and accessible in the navigation areas. So I'm going to click that. And when I click that, something happens. First of all, I get some options up here. I want to mess with the sidebar. When I hover my mouse over the sidebar, it highlights it. And notice this thing pops up that says Edit Sidebar. I'm just going to click anywhere in this white. when I do that, it brings up options that are not necessarily clear. What I really want to do now is I want to add a page to my left navigation. So I'm going to click that because that's the operation that I'm trying to do. I just created a brand new page. I want to add it to the left navigation so I can find it and see it and get to it. I'm going to click Add Page. Now I'm going to scroll down because I need to find that page. As you can see, as I was creating this website, I created all kinds of pages. Here's the page I just built. New example page. That's the one that I want to add to the left navigation. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to scroll down now because I can't show you everything without doing that, and I'm going to click OK. All right, well, did that work? Did it happen? Let's find out. I'm going to take this scroll bar now. Notice this scroll bar shows you an example of what your left navigation looks like. So I added that page. I want to make sure that it made it to my scroll bar, and there it is right at the very bottom. That's perfect because that's exactly where I want it to be. So now that it's there, I can click OK. And when I click OK, I then have to remember to click Close because I don't want to edit this anymore right now. I'm going to click Close. And when I do that, I'm going to be able to see my new example page here in the left navigation area. And there it is. So it wasn't there before, but now it's there. So what have I done so far? Let's review. Well, first I created a new page. Then I went over to here and I chose Edit Site Layout. When I did that, I was able to click in this area and then add a page and make sure that that page appeared in my left navigation. And again, you can review this video as many times as you want to. All right, so that's good. So now it's here. I'm going to click it. That was the new page. I can now edit this page. The next thing I want to do with this particular page is I don't want this page to allow comments. You've got to be careful with comments on pages, otherwise they get filled with a bunch of garbage. So I'm going to come over here to my actions. And in this case, what I would like to do is I would like to affect the settings of the page itself. So if I click that option and I come over here to allow comments, I don't want to allow comments on this page. Everything else is fine. I don't mind that the title's there. I don't mind that I can attach things. That's all great. But I don't want comments. I'm going to unclick that and then I'm going to click Save. And what you'll notice is that this page gets updated so that it's no longer possible to comment on this page. All right, what's next? What I'd like to do now is I'd like to edit this page. So I'm going to click on the little pencil up at the top, and if I hover over it, it's called Edit Page. If I click on that, it affects this page so that it's now editable. I can get rid of this if I want to. I can rename this if I want to. I can do any kind of editing on this page. Well, one of the things that you have to do for your assignment is you have to embed the Trinket application for Python coding into your page. Well, I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So this is going to be for Trinket for Python. That's going to be our goal here. Oops, that's not how you spell that. All right. Now, the way that I'm planning to do this is I'm going to go up on the left and I'm going to use Insert. And Trinket is a type of gadget. Gadgets are awesome, and we'll talk more about them at a later point in class. But when you embed Trinket, you're going to do so as a gadget. But none of these gadgets are specific to Trinket. What you want to do is click More Gadgets. You want to come down here and scroll until you just get to the very general type of gadget. Embed Gadget, because Trinket is a type of gadget. I'm going to click this, and when I click this, it says, are you going to be inserting or embedding this? I am. So I'm going to click Select. And now it says, okay, what do you want to embed? Well, I don't have the item I want to embed just yet. I need to get the embed code for Trinket. So, oops, I'm not ready to do this yet. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to grab that code, the embed code for Trinket, and come back and do this again. Okay, so let's find that. Let's go ahead and we'll just go to this site. But here instead I'm going to type in Google at the top. I'm going to type in the word trinket. So you can literally see this from start to finish. When I click trinket, it takes me to the trinket site, which is trinket.io. If I click this, it takes me to an example of trinket. And you can see how the trinket knows who I am. It's an amazing application because I've played with it before. I altered the code. Now, I don't care about that right now. What I want right now is a piece of HTML code that will allow me to embed this entire trinket application into my Google site. How do I get that? Well, I get it here at the share area. If I click that arrow, all kinds of options. Well, which is the one I want? I want the embed code because I want to embed this trinket app into my Google site. So I'm going to click that. Here is this beautiful piece of HTML code that will embed trinket into my website. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to copy it by clicking Control-C, or you can right-click and copy it as well. And now I'm going to go back to my site, and I'm going to do that all over again. I'm going to edit the page. I'm going to click underneath of this because I want it under there. I'm going to click Insert, More Gadgets. I'm going to scroll down until I just find the normal embed gadget. I'm going to click Select, that's the one I want. Now I'm going to paste, which is Control-V or right-click paste, that code that I just grabbed into this embedding box. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to change the width to, let's try 600, and I'm going to change the height to 500. I want it to be bigger. And I want to include a scroll bar on the gadget as well. Now I'm going to click OK. And here's what happens. And at first you think, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? I've done all the steps. Why is it not showing me the trinket thing? The reason is because you have not clicked Save yet. In order to see what you've done, you've got to save. So I'm going to click Save, and then this site will update, and there it is. There's my trinket app. But I'm not happy with it yet because there should be a scroll bar thing here that I can't see because it's not wide enough. So I want to change the width and the height a little because I have room to make it taller and wider, and I'm going to take advantage of that. So how do I change it? Well, okay, I'm going to edit the page again. Every time I click edit, it comes back to this weird looking thing. I'm going to click on this weird looking thing, and let me scroll up just so you can see this a little better. When I click on this gray box, this whole option box pops up. Here, watch, I'll do this again. Click. And now this all pops up. If I click this Properties tool, it allows me to come back and edit what I just did. So let's try 800 here, and let's try 700 here. Let's see if that's too big or if it'll work. I'm going to click Save again so I can see what I've done. That's better. This is the thing I wanted to create. I wanted this little backwards and forwards bar, and I didn't make it large enough to see it last time, but this part's kind of fallen off the side, and I don't like that. So I'm going to edit it one more time and make it slightly smaller. These are the steps that you're going to take as you create your site. It's almost impossible to get it perfect the first time. Click in the gray, click the properties, and now I can edit again. Let's go with 700. I think that's going to be perfect. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Save. And now here I have successfully embedded, and I can see all the different parts of it, my trinket. And what's really cool about this is I can edit. We're not going to do too much for now, but let's change this. My name is Amy. Run. Now it prints my name is Amy because that's all that this Python code is telling it to do. And as we learn more about Python, we will add code here, and when we click Run, we will see that that code runs. So by embedding this trinket application into our Google site, we now have an interpreter for Python code, and we can practice it as we get there. All right, I'm going to end this particular video, and I'm going to start another video, and talk more about the Google site and all the things that we're going to do. So this is part 1, and we're going to end it, and part 2 will be the following video.